And we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Hall. You are here on The Late Show. With me, as always, is Jack Maturko. How you doing, Jack?
I'm doing okay, Andy.
You're doing okay?
We're ready for an enthusiastic conversation.
I'm ready to be enthused. I'm willing to smear my enthusiasm all around. And of course, tonight with us is the fantastic, the wonderful Steve Hill, comedian, Satanist, person who runs for political offices. Much taller than I am. I am once again the shortest person on this show, and I feel already intimidated, to tell you the truth. Not because I have this height thing, to tell you the truth. It's I've talked about it before, and I am the shortest person on the show. At least we're not in person together, so I wouldn't feel.
He is quite tall. I've only met Steve in person once, but the first time we actually met in person, I didn't realize how tall he was until we actually met in person. So, what are you, like 6'5", 6'6"?
6'7".
Yeah.
6'7". Oh.
Perfect height for a power forward.
Very good, very good. So, Steve, for people who aren't acquainted with you and what you do, you want to give us a little bit about yourself, sir?
Yeah, I'll give you a little tad. For one, I'm I live in California. I live in North Los Angeles County, but I was born in the ghetto in north side of St. Louis. You know, people always talking that shit about how bad Compton is. Go to St. Louis. Go to the north side of St. Louis. It's a really, I mean, the true sense of ghetto is the north side of St. Louis. Anyways, I joined the United States Marine Corps when I was 17 years old. Did some time in there, actually, and re-enlisted. After that, I went to LA, worked in aerospace as a CNC machinist, computer numerical control, really highly technical job, manufacturing aerospace parts for like B-2 bombers and fighters and all of that stuff, which was kind of boring after about 7 years. So after that, I thought I would go and do 10 years in prison as an officer. Yeah, that was interesting. I got, really, if y'all want to talk about some prison stories, I got them. After that, I went and worked a couple of years in middle school as campus security supervisor, which was kind of like working at the prison, except at the prison, I didn't have to worry about getting shot. So after that, I opened up my current business. I've been in business about 16, 17 years. Ana Verde real estate appraisal. I appraised real estate. I went through that whole mortgage meltdown thing in 2007. People say 2008, but it was actually 2007 when the shit hit the fan with the industry, with the business, with real estate. And, I think I might have been inspired by Barack Obama, because in around 2008, 2007, I started doing stand-up comedy. I figured if a brother could run for president, at least I could do is get my ass on stage and tell a couple of jokes about, politically what's going on. So I did that. I guess that didn't satisfy me, because I started, I ran for office, I think the first time was 2015 as a special, just as a write-in candidate, and I did pretty good. Then I ran again in 2016 and got like 12% of the vote, which there are tons of elections that are lost by far less than 12% of the vote.
Yep.
And then I ran again in 2020. Same thing, basically just to be a different voice, a voice for the people who basically don't have a voice. My platform basically was on education and immigration, homelessness. I mean, LGBTQ rights. Basically, I ran on a Bernie Sanders platform. $15 hour minimum, living wage, slavery ended in supposedly in 1865 with the abolishment of slavery. That shit didn't happen. Yeah, and right now I'm just running my business and I'm preparing for a comedy special.
Oh, really?
For when this pandemic is over. Yeah, I'm kind of like, I've got most of the material, but because of current events and motherfuckers trying to overthrow the government and all that shit, I find myself keep having to write in different stuff and update it, and and I'm looking at not being able. I can't really do this until I get an audience. I refuse to do it on Zoom or some stupid shit like that. I need a live audience because I like the energy. I like the feedback.
Yep.
And yeah, that's about it. But hopefully this comedy special is going to be off the chain, because there's going to be a lot of shit in it that people ain't never heard before from a Black comedian.
I will. I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to seeing, hearing it. Interested in what kind of material you have been able to create during the apocalypse that we are now in, that we've been in for I don't even know how long we've been in this particular apocalypse. It's been a while.
I can say a minimum of 4.5 years. Whenever that motherfucker came down the escalator, that's when it started.
Right. Okay. So Steve, the reason why you're here, of course, well, you've been on the channel before. You've been, so you always, you're always welcome to come on. But Jack told me about this podcast that you're on, Right to Reason. Now I know Robert Stanley, who hosts the show. He's been on this channel before, and he's a decent guy from my interactions with him. And you were talking with David Silverman about, what is it, systemic racism, and
his denial of its existence.
Right. I'm just going to do the reading. I'm going to read a quick definition of, I think this is from it's the English Dictionary online, and this is just institutional, a very simple definition of institutional racism. Racial discrimination that has become established as normal behavior within a society or organization. I find it difficult that anyone in good faith could argue that there isn't institutional racism here in the States.
Yeah, your argument would just right off the bat not be valid, and would be a point of, I think, someone just being disingenuous if you have to, deny its existence. You'd have to basically be a fucking idiot if you don't understand the shit that Black people go through on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And it's inherent in our system. I mean, the powers that be, the people that are in place that run our system, our government, all you have to do is look at January 6th. And that's the force. That's the force that all the politicians are up against. That's the force that Black people are up against. It's a force. It's a tangible force that these politicians know. They know these people exist.
Yes.
They know that these fucking so-called patriots exist. Anybody ever realize that there's not one Black person you can reference and someone will call that person a patriot? Think about that for a minute. Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X, all of our heroes. When have they ever been referred to as a fucking patriot?
Well, yeah, that's it is definitely not common to hear someone, even Martin Luther King, the person that a lot of white people like to hold up on a statue. I don't think
all the politicians, them motherfuckers, be it Martin Luther King celebration. He got a goddamn holiday, and they still don't give a fuck about Black people.
And I can't remember anyone calling him a patriot, to tell you the truth.
No, that's a thing that I never really thought about, but it's true. I can't think of too many times where the word patriot gets used in that context.
Yeah, they keep the definition of patriot and black people as far apart as they can get.
Yeah. So Steve, I got to ask you. You've known Dave for a lot long. Yeah, I've only like bumped into Dave maybe once or twice. You've known Dave for a long time. Has he always held this position, or is this something relatively new for him?
Just know him knowing him on a personal level, and the vibes and the feelings I get from him. I think he's always thought that this thing did not exist. You know how you just read,
He was always
a former prison guard. One thing they teach you at the academy is how to read people, how to read inmates, because it could save your life. So as I read Dave, I always had the feeling of this innate superiority complex that he possesses, especially around black people. Me and Jeremiah Kamara, I don't know if y'all know him. We used to hang out a lot at these conferences and stuff, and we would both talk about like, dude, what's wrong with him? You can feel it. He reeks that aura of fucking I'm superior to you.
Well, way back before he got canned from American Atheist, he was always the one who was, we're putting the atheist table at CPAC guy. Like that was part of his jam, was reaching out to the right wing and, we need to bring them in.
Right.
No, you don't need to. Well,
and now all these motherfuckers are talking about uniting. I'm like, we've been through like 4 years of hell when I didn't hear unite raised one fucking time, but as soon as they lose power, the only thing that come out of their mouth now is unity. No, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Digital Bookworm in the chat says, I'm tired of arguing with people who start right out saying, talking about black on black crime. Yeah, that's just a cheap rhetorical.
I got 30 minutes I can do on black crime. I had a nephew that was murdered in St. Louis a couple of years ago. And coming from someone who knows about real estate and the history of this country with redlining that supposedly had stopped in 1968, that them motherfuckers used freeways, rivers, everything to keep black people away from white people. Where if you put all these black people in one area with no education, no businesses, no economic tax base, and then go, why are they killing each other?
Yeah, why is there more crime where generational wealth has had 400 years of a
right. They got a fucking head start. Yeah, and they don't, nobody wants to understand that in America, but that's something that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, there are some links in the description if people want to read up more about institutional racism here in the country. And there have been suburbs created just after World War II that are specifically for white people. That there were
right, what do you call it? That was Levittstown, and there was a whole lot of them. It started in the 1920s. We had this deeply flawed urban, rejuvenation of urban areas, and building is crazy, and FHA wouldn't give you loans if you sold to black people. So that's basically government sanctioned fucking racism.
Yeah.
And I live in California, man. My family loves going to the beach. You want to feel out of place in America, be a black person and go to one of these small beach communities and look at how people look at you.
Yeah.
For one, they think you're guilty of something. For two, they know your black ass don't live around here because all black people have basically been priced out of beachfront property and beachside communities. We don't live there. It's all due to fucking systemic racism that's been, obvious ever since we were freed.
Yeah. Just
I use free loosely.
I want to highlight once again that these were affordable houses in communities built right after World War II. And if you weren't white, you couldn't get in. It was as simple as that. And these communities, the way how cities are divided up into black and white areas, that too was a product of central planning during FDR's. Once again, there's links in the description. The idea that you would build housing for poor black people over here and housing for poor white people over there. And people were segregated. Poor people were segregated in that way.
Yeah, that was the worst thing this country ever did, was to not let us integrate the population. So the tax base, so the people who could afford it, blacks who had jobs that could actually afford those houses, they didn't allow it. So you created these ghettos.
Yeah.
And that was the worst thing this country could have ever done. Because when you kept us separate, you kept white people afraid of black people. And if you fear someone, that's the worst thing, because now you've got an enemy, you got a monster, you got, things that you dream about in your dreams because you fear these people, what they might do.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. Yeah. But yeah, we could make this show 5 hours long.
We could. You know what? Once again, as I was listening to this debate or this discussion that you had with Dave Silverman on Right to Reason, I just noticed about the false equivalences that he was trying to do. There's some bad people on the left, so that makes them morally equivalent to the far right fascists.
Yeah, that's basically another way of that other thing that I hate, is that whataboutism shit. That tit for tat. Oh, what about, and that's what somebody mentioned earlier in the chat about, what about black on black crime? I'm like, motherfucker, you created black on black crime. You're more guilty than anybody. My nephew got murdered by some fucking worthless. My nephew was a veteran, had a degree, had four kids in the back seat when a guy walked up with an AK-47 and just sprayed him in the front seat and allowed 4 kids to watch that shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that bullshit, that whataboutism, false equivalency, it's just more disingenuous arguments that people pull out of an orifice located in their lower hip area.
Yeah. And you know what burned me was how Dave would, and Joe Biden, obviously not a perfect human being, obviously has passed, obviously has an issue, but
had a bad one I'm not too happy with, but yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But to put him in the same category of former President Donald J. Trump, the man who said that there are good people on both sides of a fascist attack in Charlottesville, I forget the name of it. But the tiki, thank you. Right, Charlotte. Tiki waving, fascists.
Fucking
right.
Jews will not replace us.
Right, blood and soil kind of stuff.
The Mexicans gonna replace you though, because you didn't get that wall built. Trust me, I live in Southern California, man. That's a whole nother topic we could do a whole hour on, man. These motherfuckers, I ain't even gonna say nothing. Go ahead. You can have me arrested tonight.
Yeah, but it was just. Go ahead, Jack.
The thing that got me about that interview, and the point where I actually messaged Andy and said we need to get Steve on the show, is when you were arguing about the insurrection, and Dave said something like, well, Giuliani said, what was it? He said, I trial by combat, and you didn't hear the rest of the clip. The rest of the clip is there. It's not like the camera cut off and all of a sudden Giuliani said, metaphorically, that didn't happen, right?
Right.
That seemed to be what Dave was trying to argue and say, like, oh, Giuliani didn't really mean it that way, and it was just fucked up editing. It wasn't fucked up editing. That's what Giuliani said. The context is there.
Right.
Why are you even trying to pretend? Like, you're the only people who would be convinced by that argument are people who didn't pay attention in the first place.
Right. I don't know what audience he tries to win over with lies and deception, but I just like to tell the damn truth.
Yeah.
More people know when they're hearing the truth, man. That's why even as a black Satanist running for office, people know the shit I'm talking about is truth. When you don't educate our kids, they can fall for bullshit. That's why we need to educate our kids and tell them the truth.
Yeah. Well, that's what frustrates me with a lot of these quote unquote libertarian atheists or Republican atheists, is the fact that even if their heart is in the right place, the idea that they are supporting the breakdown of the federal government, the idea that they are supporting the hollowing out of the education system, the idea that they are for oligarchs. You can call yourself an atheist, but if you're a Republican or if you're a big L libertarian, then you are acting against your own interests. You are acting against a more secular society.
Right. Am I the only one that feel this way? But don't you think that just the phrase a Republican atheist is kind of an oxymoron? You really can't. You really can't be a libertarian atheist. Or if I ever find a Republican Satanist, I'm gonna tell you, get the fuck out, because it just doesn't fit. It's two things, going against the grain.
Yeah. It boggles the brain. I had this. I had an ex-girlfriend of mine, a person of multiracial woman. We from Maine. And so we went up to visit a friend of hers who's gay, and her friend's gay friend, boyfriend. He had a boyfriend basically, and this boyfriend was racist. And I'm just looking, and it's like you understand that being a minority, that being bigoted against another minority, that is how do you square that circle?
It takes all kind to run the world, but
well, that's kind of the Republican playbook, right? Like take the two minority groups and pit them against each other.
Yeah.
So they can spend all their time fighting each other, and then you can get on with doing whatever.
Right. Well, that's what all these oligarchs and these people who own beachfront property, they want us to fight each other.
Well, it's
the man behind the curtain. Don't nobody want the curtain pulled back, but I feel like that's my whole fucking goal in life, is to pull the curtain back. Like, look at these motherfuckers. We down here struggling for scraps, and these motherfuckers are all laughing at us instead of us uniting and saying fuck you and fuck the media too, because the media has a big role to play in all of this shit. They call it our fourth branch of government. Believe it.
Yeah. Well, just what Jack was talking about, it really is the politics of colonialism, of imperialism. The idea that you do, this is what the British did in either India or any of the other colonies that they had, was that they took, they just pit minorities against each other so that they could do their business.
Yeah, they let some of them live really good, but the masses lived pretty bad. And then they put those people who live really good in power and told all the masses, don't believe your eyes.
Yeah, sure. Like if you look at all the white people in rural trailer parks, there's no reason that they shouldn't be voting for a Democratic agenda, because it would help them too. But they don't, because they've been sold this bill of goods that says if you vote Republican, then you get to feel superior to.
Yeah, that goes back. That goes all the way back to LBJ's statement.
That goes back to the Civil War. I mean,
Yeah, but his statement is that his statement where if you can get the lowest black man to think that he's better than that statement right there says it all.
Right.
And more contemporaneously, because back during the slavery days, didn't nobody give a fuck what black people thought at all. And it wasn't pronounced the way things really existed. But when LBJ stated it after Kennedy was assassinated, it's like, okay. And then you had the whole Southern switch and all that old bullshit. I hope everybody knows history, man.
Well, you raise a good point, Steve. The idea that we don't have, it's absurd, the idea that we don't have institutional racism, where the entire system, the entire Democratic base and Republican base switched over because of the fact that Democrats decided to vote for civil rights back in the 60s.
Right. Yeah.
So, dude,
and then you get the Republicans. I fight with them all the time in this 25th congressional page, Facebook page, and that Democrats they started the Ku Klux Klan, and Democrats don't want to give a fuck about y'all, and I'm like, there was a little transition period that the country went through. But they anticipate you not knowing history, not knowing this shit, where you can argue the point with them. Like,
because they made sure that the schools were underfunded, so you wouldn't learn that shit in the first place.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I didn't know who Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey was until the fucking 80s.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Steve, do you think Dave was just trying to get underneath your skin? Do you think he was just effing with you when he kept calling you brother during the discussion?
I think Dave actually thinks that.
Okay.
Some people, come on, look at QAnon. These people actually think there's Jewish lasers burning up the fucking forests in California. I mean, these people actually think this shit. They think that it's fucking satanic, child molesting, people that Hillary Clinton is ruling over. They actually believe this shit. And it's terrible what you can do to the human mind. And the power of the media, the power of our celebrities, Oprah Winfrey, Steve Harvey, all of these fuckers, their power, and then they waste it. They have these huge platforms, and then they waste it on not informing everybody to tell them what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Well, but if Oprah came out and said something like that, all those Karens that are subscribers to her book would just cancel their subscriptions right away, right?
I got a whole set of jokes I do. I got a whole set of jokes I do on Shaquille O'Neal and Lamar Odom, because I'm a LA Laker fan, so I like to pick on those two. But it has something to do with the media, the power of the media, and people not helping society, not helping humanity by telling all of these people that buy the bullshit they sell. At one time in LA, Shaq was on TV selling General Auto Insurance, Domino's pizzas, Ring doorbell, Gold Bond lotion, Icy Hot, motherfucking inkjet printing shit. But one thing you won't hear Shaq do is talk about over-aggressive policing in a lot of our communities. You won't hear him say that, because then he won't have the ability to sell all this bullshit. Shaq's been on TV, that motherfucker sell everything but his goddamn kids. But he won't fucking mention that black people get harassed by the fucking police all the time, especially in certain communities.
Yeah. There was once again, a link below about a Harvard study that actually shows that people who are black are 3 times more likely to die when engaging with the police than white people are. Once again, link in the description below. But it is, and that's the thing. There's so many facts.
Yeah, but you know what? There's also so many numbers, and depending on the perspective you look at those numbers, I've noticed that people can twist that shit and put their spin on it with the proper set of numbers by not disclosing. Oh, well, we meant black guys that was wearing red pants that day. Shit like that.
That was another thing.
They twist the numbers.
When you were talking on the other show, you at some point, the whole, well, what about black on black crime came up, and you never hear anybody talk about white on white crime numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like that's never a discussion that, of course, white people commit crimes against other white people pretty much all the fucking time. That's
pretty much.
That's not a thing.
Yeah. But it's like somebody going down, taking a handful of dirt, and throwing it in your face to keep you, try to keep you from seeing clearly.
Right.
Yeah.
So they throw shit like that at you and expect for you to, okay, I won't say nothing else then.
Well, it's such an idiotic argument because the idea of black on black crime somehow incriminating all of Black America, by that logic, no white person should ever have their hands on any money whatsoever in terms of financial planners or on Wall Street, because the last time I've heard that most of the oligarchs, most of the lickspittles on Wall Street of the oligarchs are primarily white, and we were the ones who helped tank the entire economy back in 2007 with these crazy schemes about mortgages.
You ain't got to tell me about it. Shit, I was on the front row fucking seat of that roller coaster. Chase, B of A, Wells Fargo, Citibank, all those, man, they were kicking people out of their houses so fast in North LA County. Shit, sometimes I get to an appraisal and have to help the people move out. I mean, they were kicking motherfuckers out left and right. It was devastating. I mean, I still got PTSD from that shit. Just to see all the kids uprooted, taken out of their schools. We're going to LA to live with grandma. It was a fucked up event. And then, of course, nobody goes to jail. Nobody goes to jail. Now, I'm a correctional officer, 10 years, 2 different maximum security prisons. State prisons in LA, in California, full of black people, full of black men. That was one of the most shocking things. I figured it would be a couple of blacks, but god damn. I mean, I'm talking about cell blocks where you release for chow, and for 10 minutes, nothing but black men come out. And then they get to the white section, the Mexican section, which the Mexicans were right behind us usually. And then the few whites, the skinhead, Nazi lowriders, Peckerwoods, all of that. And then they have Asians, and then they have the others. That's an ethnic group, y'all. Don't ever forget that. We got people in America we call others. But yeah, man, that mortgage meltdown was some shit. I mean,
So I imagine it must be very frustrating for you when you're talking to white atheists who think they understand what being a minority is like.
Well, most of them they speak of topical, things, the blatant, out in your face. George Floyd got murdered, basically lynched on TV in front of everybody. But they don't delve down. They don't really. I don't think they have I won't say the emotional capacity to care about really learning about us, about our history. I mean, hey man, I'll be 60 this year. 60.
Really?
Yes, really, 60.
Wow.
I know the county. I own land back in Mississippi. The county below where I own 13 acres and 2 houses, the town square in New Albany was where my great-grandfather was purchased at as a kid. So, it's kind of hard explaining that shit to people. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of understanding that people don't know the history, but they could be kind of understanding and feel sympathy and empathize with your plight, with what you have to deal with. But it's kind of hard for them unless they're some kind of Black history teacher to really understand, how we've come this far to go no fucking where.
It's interesting to see, and this is one of the things I use to gauge, where people are at, is you bring up the name Colin Kaepernick.
Oh man!
And you see see how they respond.
Man, get that son of a bitch off the field. Can you believe that? Can you believe that shit? Get that son of a bitch off the field. Now all he's doing is kneeling down and being quite respectful as you could be to get a little attention about law enforcement.
Yeah.
About police reform. It ain't like he was trying to overthrow the fucking game. It wasn't like he was beating cops in the motherfucking stands with a fucking American flag. It wasn't like he was doing shit like that. He was peaceful. It wasn't saying a word. And get that son of a bitch off the field. And guess what? He lost his job, has never played since, and is probably now too late.
Yeah. That asking people what they think of Colin Kaepernick can typically get some kind of look into how they really view race here in America.
Yeah. Oh, I got some politicians, political friend of mine, 36th Assembly District, Tom Lackey. We had a conversation. Like, hey man, what do you think about Colin Kaepernick? Oh, Steve, well, I really don't mind him protesting, but do it someplace else. And I'm like, motherfucker, if we protested where you couldn't see us, how the fuck we protesting?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they want, right? You can say whatever you want as long as it's out of the way and they don't have to think about it, right?
We don't want to see you protesting how fucked up we treat you.
Because then something might change. You can't have that. Yeah. Fuck 'em.
Yeah. What are you trying to do? Start a riot? Fucking insurrection? What the fuck? Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Don't get me started on Colin Kaepernick, but he's a hero. He's just like Muhammad Ali, man.
Yep.
Muhammad Ali's like, well, why you want me to go kill Vietnamese? They didn't call me no nigger.
Yeah. Tons of mice in the chat.
You're my enemy. And I come from a military family, man. My father fought in World War II. Brother fought in Vietnam. Got another brother that's a retired Marine. So what they did to law enforcement, didn't they beat one to death with a fire extinguisher or some shit? I mean, just outright, that would have been us. It'd have been dead bodies every goddamn where. It would have been dead Black people everywhere.
There would have been a show of force to begin with. There would have been the National Guard call.
Oh yeah. They would have had tanks, M1s, fucking grenade launchers, all that shit ready before Trump sent us. But I guess it wouldn't have been Trump. I guess it probably would have been Louis Farrakhan or somebody. Maybe Oprah. Maybe Oprah tell us to go down and fucking tear up the fucking people's house. I don't know. This is all fucked up, man. Y'all gotta understand. I'm living in a really traumatic time trying to reconcile my entire existence from being a fucking Marine, retired peace officer, and then you see that if you Black, none of that shit matter. Like if you running for office, don't nobody give a fuck if you as a U.S. Marine. Don't nobody give a fuck if you as a peace officer. You Black and you as a Satanist. So right now this is really a fucked up time. I'm almost ready to just a couple more years when my wife retired from teaching, just fucking fade off, go away and enjoy my later years, whatever I have left,
Oh yeah. Tons of mice in the chat said go shopping with a Black woman in a mall in the South and you'll learn a few things about systemic racism. He's in a relationship with a Black woman, and so he knows firsthand.
Oh yeah. Before they had all these security cameras, they had people walking around stores doing security. And Black people could spot them because you could always feel their eyes on you. always feel those eyes on you. Like, God damn, what the fuck? All I want to do is get some socks. But you got to go through this bullshit just to patronize or, spend your money at somebody else's store to make them rich.
Yeah.
But yeah. Go shopping with a black lady anywhere. And you'll see. Go to Hollywood. Go to Sunset. Go to Rodeo, Melrose Avenue in LA. Yeah.
So I know you have kids, Steve. How have your kids been able to navigate the last 4 years?
Whew. I know they've picked up a varying array of new vocabulary words like "fuck Donald Trump." They've learned a lot of expletives because that's what's been coming out of me, man. This is built up, And then you throw the pandemic. My girls are in high school, so you throw pandemic in on not being able to see your friends and dealing with Donald Trump. The only good thing they take out of it is they get to stay home, and talk to their friends, and we don't even mess with them, go in their rooms, and we just let them, get through this quick as they possible. Matter of fact, I think they're both going to be involved in this next study on the vaccines. Their mother signed them up. Yeah. I wonder if they'll both get the placebo or the actual vaccine. But it's it's something interesting that they're doing.
A buddy of mine who's a Boston area comic who's been on the channel a couple of times, Dennis Mailer, he was in the trial for one of the vaccines. They gave him $700 for participating, and he was lucky enough not to get the placebo. He actually got the real vaccine.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard nothing. I haven't heard nothing about being compensated, but we don't really need the money. I would hope they would just do it for humanity's sake. But I don't know. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting if they gave one of them the placebo and one of the actually trial vaccine.
Do you feel better about that now that the administration has changed over? Like if it was Trump's vaccine, would you would you have trusted that vaccine?
Hell no. Injecting my kids with bleach. Fuck that. No, I wouldn't feel good about that at all. Anything under Donald Trump, is skewed. It's not right. Something is wrong with it because something was wrong with him up here mentally. He's not a complete human being. He lacks certain characteristics and traits that typical people carry around with them and function. It's conducive to having a normal American lifestyle.
And worst of all, he thinks that's what makes him special and better than everyone else, right? So
and he's rich. I'm rich. Did I tell you I was rich? I am rich. I hope they take every fucking dime he got. I hope he spent all this money. 5 of his attorneys quit and have already been replaced with some other idiots because in America, people will do anything for money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, people are lining up to sue him, Giuliani, Steve Bannon, the whole crooked lot. Their Dominion voting,
Oh yeah, that was a pretty big one.
Dominion 1.3 billion
in the billions. Yeah. But you know what though? When someone jeopardizes your relationship with the public, and you basically, those machines are basically public trust. I mean, everybody is counting on you to be honest, upfront and transparent. And when you throw some bullshit in the game with that to make people doubt your system, your whole reason for living is creating these machines, and you've got this big government contract, that could hurt your business financially.
Yeah. And Dominion has to create a disincentive for politicians to run their mouths in the future too.
Yeah, but come on, the Republican Party should be doing that shit right now. And look at them. Look what they're doing to Cheney.
Yeah.
Look what they're doing to her. A decent human being, and they got other people that going talking shit. What's his name? Look like a fucking talking mannequin dummy. Forget his name. I could just see his face. That's probably why I want to throw up. But yeah, and people like Ted Cruz, don't say shit about Heidi. Don't you better not never say nothing about Heidi, but I'll suck your dick.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz. Hey man, I hope this is a late show, so I'm hoping this isn't like going out to like children channels and shit.
No one. We are adult content, especially late night. Late night. Yeah. But Tons of Mice says security followed her out right out of the store. She's from Marvel, Arkansas, a couple of hours west from New Albany, Mississippi. Yeah, man, that stinks tons.
Yeah, and New Albany is right above Blue Mountain, Mississippi, which is right next to Ripley, Mississippi. It's where all of my people were slaves and sharecroppers at. Yeah, I know the whole area. Memphis.
I think all of those areas that we were just talking about in my own blue state, Massachusetts, Massel kind of way is like, I don't know. I think I'm afraid. I'm afraid to travel just because of, this image I have of red state lunacy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why any white person from the North would want to go to the South. I mean, there should have been a lesson learned with the Freedom Riders in the 60s when they went down trying to help black people. They were killed.
Yeah.
So like, why would you want to go to the South? People. When I'm there, I talk to people because that's what I do. I talk to people and communicate with people, and people ask me like, "Now let me see if I got this right. You live in California and you come to Mississippi for vacation?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But they don't understand that. Like, what the fuck would you want to come here for, the vacation?
Right.
It's in the woods. It's peaceful. It's quiet. There's deer and animals and shit running around and farms and, serenity and quiet and no traffic, no 405, no downtown LA, So yeah, I like to go there, but I don't see why other people do, especially white people from Massachusetts.
So Steve, you're heading up to 60 years old. How do you see? You got some wear on the tires. You've done it. You've had a lot of experiences. Where do you see things going for the country in the future?
Well, I think the first thing we're going to have to do is resolve this civil war that's going on in the Republican Party. It's kind of like sitting down waiting till they decide who the fuck they want to be. Like, do you want to be, an offshoot of the Ku Klux Klan? Or do you want to be all that shit that we talk about, freedom and religious liberty and, work hard and the opportunity to succeed and, Second Amendment gun rights and, freedom. That's all you hear these motherfuckers do is scream freedom all the time. And I find that pretty ironic coming from people who own fucking slaves. So yeah, we got some figuring out to do within our own house, a large percentage. I mean, this dude got 70 plus million people to vote for him. I find that amazing in America. Now, if it was South Africa in the 80s, okay. But this is America in 2020, and you got, how many did he get? 78, 75, 76 million people to vote for him. And I'm talking to, take away all of the grabbing women by the pussies and she's got blood coming out of somewhere, and take away all of that. misogynistic bullshit and just look at race. You know, the Mexicans, they're rapists, they're murderers, they got drugs, you know, they're coming over. It's like, what the fuck? We got to decide who we are before we can proceed into the future. But I have kids. So I'm gonna keep fighting for my side.
Yeah, that's all you can do, right?
Do you think that this weird division that's in the Republican Party right now is a chance for the left wing of the Democratic Party to kind of shove the Overton window in the right direction by dragging the Democrats further to the left while the Republicans are all fighting amongst themselves?
Yeah, well, at least the establishment Democrats have started to, you know, with Bernie running a couple of cycles, at least they've started to at least be conscious of their stagnant progress that they've been making over all of these years. And I blame that. That's why we haven't gotten anywhere with police reform. You know, none of these politicians can say nothing bad about the police. Now I got elected officials here, man. I got friends, assemblymen, congressmen, state senators. I got 3 of them that right now they call themselves my friend, but I also got a lawsuit against the sheriff's department that won't nobody fucking help me with. Yeah. I mean, a winning lawsuit. I mean, when you can ask the cop, why did you come to my house and question me? And I didn't do anything. And I know that they can't answer it. That's a winning argument, should be in America. But I can't get like no assistance. They're like, well, Steve, we can't fuck shit. We can't. If I spent my time fielding police complaints, I would have time for nothing else. I actually got a text from a friend of mine that texted me that. You believe that? You know, but he's gonna be running for office again, and I'm sure it's gonna come up.
You know, it is the silence of our friends that is the most damning thing about all this.
Right. And that's why white people are pressuring other white people right now to fucking say something.
Yeah.
And I like that. Those are the real Americans. Those are the people that understand what the country is supposed to be about. And they check their friends, neighbors, relatives, sometimes their spouses.
Steve, have I ever told you my Huck Finn story?
No, but you know I'm from Missouri, and
all right. So this is a true
Mr. Twain. We went fishing and hunting in the area that he was in Hannibal, Missouri. Sure. But yeah, tell it to me. Let me hear it.
This is a true story. This is a true story. I told it a couple of times on stage for spoken word stuff. Not comedy, but just spoken word, because it's I still try to find where the comedy is here. There is some dark, well, let me just get started. I had this 8 a.m. philosophy class when I was an undergraduate. I went to college out in the burbs, a small liberal arts college, a lot of white kids, 95% white kids. And for the philosophy class, we would read these small vignettes, these small sections of novels, to try to ascertain the moral lesson, right? And so you'd read a little bit of some story, talk about the morality, and you go to the next story and the next story. So there was one section in this book from Huck Finn where Huck is on the river with Jim, the runaway slave, right? Mm-hmm. And then the slavers came, and I swear to my fictitious God, this is a true story. So there's a point that the slavers who are hunting for Jim, they stop Huck, and Jim is hiding, and they ask Huck, where is Jim? They're looking specifically for him. And Huck says, I haven't seen him. I don't know where he is. And the slavers go, okay, well, there's a reward. If you did see him, we would share the reward with you. And the slavers, went on their way. And that was basically the end of the small story. And so the professor, this was what he asked people in the class. He asked, did Huck do the wrong thing? Raise Raise your hand if you believe Huck did the wrong thing. In other words, Huck should have told the slave, given Jim back to the slavers, basically, put Jim back into slavery. And I'm going, well, this,
I got a feeling he was in the wrong class to ask this question.
I'm sitting in the front row, right? Because I'm a big geek and I would really love my philosophy classes. So I'm in the front row, and all of a sudden I see like motions from the left and the right of me, and I'm like, so I look around, and I swear to effing God, it's like being at a Hitler Youth rally with hands up in the air. And I shit you not, 90% of the class were like, yeah, Huck should have put him back into slavery. And the reasons why, and this is like 1993, which is like, I know for a lot of people, that's like in the before time and the long ago. Not really.
Not really.
So the professor asked these kids, right? And these kids are like 18, 19 years old. So why should Huck have given Jim back into slavery, put Jim back into slavery? One kid just like proudly said, well, it was the law. It was the law. You know, he did the wrong thing.
It's the law. It's the right thing to do.
Another student said, well, you know, it's what his dad or his parents would have wanted him to do or something like that. And it's like, really? This is how you base
Right.
I practically had it.
I can understand that though. I mean, I can actually understand that. This is America. This is that 75 million people who voted for Trump. This is America. This is who we are at this point in history. And hopefully when we come off of this lockdown and everybody is vaccinated, we need to do a reset. We need to recalibrate our values and what we think America is. And we need to start educating these kids and, you know, get on with making progress towards who we're supposed to be.
Yep. Right. Exactly. Tons of mice. He's never heard that story. Tons of Mice is on my channel a lot. But yeah, that's totally true story. Tons of Mice. And you'll probably hear me talk. I got other crazy stuff, which I'm not going to go into right now. But that's, I mean, just white people just sharing those crazy stories, I think is important because it pushes it just shows you it's out there. This racism, it's just under the water.
Yeah, but I would admit that white people have done a brilliant job as keeping their racism as latent and under the wire as possible. Because if you're a black person and you just kind of like you know going along with this and living your life, you could be tricked into thinking that America is really great. But all it takes is a couple of run-ins with the police, and you know it brings you back to a very specific reality that we all have to deal with. Yeah.
So everyone, you know, we're running down towards the end of our hour here. Hour. I think I said that right. Steve, this is the question we always ask our guests. Is there something you wanted us to ask you, but we didn't? Was there a topic you wanted to touch on, but we just didn't get around to?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything briefly. Oh, wait a minute. There is something. I'm glad you asked. God damn it. I was in this group, and that meme I sent you, it had the little girl, the little climate change Greta. What's her name? Greta
Thunberg. Yeah.
Yeah, and it had Telly Savalas underneath, and her statement was, people my age, you know, the millennials, we're going to rule the world. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing now. But then Telly Savalas said, people your age can't even decide if you're a boy or a girl. And I found that to be humorous from a comedic perspective, because I'm basically a baby boomer, and nobody has ever pushed back against these millennials with this okay boomer shit.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, so that's why I found that kind of funny. Like, to me, that was pushback against the boomers. Finally, like, you
Yeah.
motherfuckers don't know if you're a boy or girl. Even though I know from working in prisons that
Well,
transsexuals have been with us
Forever.
forever.
well, not
Yeah.
sure if you're a boy or a girl. That's Bowie in the 70s.
Yeah,
So-
something like that. Yeah, exactly. Fame. Yeah,
It is
man.
true.
But man, it was people. They bashed the shit out of me, even on my own page. Like, oh, you're
Yeah.
transphobic, and I'm like, no, motherfucker. I got a LGBTQ daughter.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it
I
is.
got, and then you have to, oh, well, that's like saying you got a black friend. I'm like, no, motherfucker. I'm saying I found humor in that. That's why I shared it.
Yeah.
It'll have nothing to do with basically being trans.
Steve, I have to tell you, I mean, Jack knows this. I've gotten into trouble for a joke, before, it's difficult to be on social media and to be a comedian and to make jokes. The one person, I'll tell you this. I like Mark Maron. I've seen Mark Maron perform a bunch of times. I was actually at the Comedy Store before the apocalypse, and I was, I got to see him
in that main room. That's my favorite spot in the world.
Well, let me tell you, it was my first time going there, and I saw Marin and a couple of other people who just walked in, really great people. But I love his act, and I like listening to his podcast because he has this awareness that being a dude, I'm like 52. And it would be very easy for me to come off as angry, out of touch white dude, right? It would be so easy, either in comedy or just comments that I make. But when I think about Mark Maron, that's a kind of tone that I wanna have personally. Is that I want to be respectful of people's identities, of course, and I still want to find humor, and I still want to speak truth to power, and I try to thread that needle. But it's tough. It is tough, and all of us have fallen short.
Yeah, even before the apocalypse, every lot of comedians, friends, a lot of famous comedians were talking about the political correctness in comedy, where I think it was Steinfeld. He was like, man, fuck comedy. I don't even want to do it no more. These fucking audiences. So, you say one wrong thing and these motherfuckers to, come up with this self-righteous bullshit out their ass to be, oh, I can't believe you said that. Like, I'm a fucking comedian. It's a joke, you dumbass.
Yeah.
I find humor in that. So, you got to be on pins and needles. But this comedy stuff that I'm working on right now, I guarantee you, I already got a production team. I've given them an advance and everything.
Good.
It's going down in history. It's going down as a marker in time for the Trump administration and America and where we are. All these motherfuckers and I've been saying this for years. All of these people that overran the Capitol, we're finding out that they're military and law enforcement. I've been telling people this shit for years. Because I've traveled the path already. Like, man, these motherfuckers come from the military. I know Marines that were so goddamn racist. And like, man, you motherfuckers burning across in morning formation. I mean, they just fucking, and now all of a sudden people act like, oh shit, where'd they come from? Who are they? I mean, they're moving through the crowd in military formations and shit. I'm like, man, these
20%. I do a morning show Monday through Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. roughly. Cheap plug for the show, by the way. And covered a story that 20% of the people during the Capitol riots were ex-military, police, some kind of background like that. 20%.
Some real estate. Did you see that one, Steve? The one that blew my mind. There was this lady, and she posted to her Facebook her video of them storming the Capitol, and she says, I'm a real estate agent. Use me. Are you fucking crazy?
I saw that.
This is advertising for her.
Trust me, there will be some racists that will seek her ass out. Like, hey, you're my kind of agent.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, not anymore because she committed a felony and she cannot be a real estate agent anymore. But
lose your license, goddammit. That's right. Let them all lose their license. Yeah, man. I wanted to, I talked to the people in my community, the mayor of Palmdale, California, and I wanted to ask him, like, hey, man, you guys really, for the good of the community that we live in, that we have to live in, you guys should really find out in the LA County Sheriff's Department, Palmdale Station, find out who wasn't on duty on July 6th and who was out of town, who had a destination they went to on the 6th.
Yeah.
I want every fucking officer, every officer. And I think all of these communities all around the country should do that. Like, were there law enforcement from my town there? Because I know how the fuck they're going to treat me from now on.
Oh, yeah. 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 Police reform needed. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, the idea that Wall Street can police itself, the idea that the Catholic Church can police itself, the idea that the police can police themselves, it's madness. Right. It's just madness.
Yeah. We'll conduct it. They conducted an investigation with me. I had a lieutenant call me. And after 17 minutes, I was like, you know what? I think I'll just get an attorney. Because you were, he for one, he talked to me like I was an inmate.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, why did you just stand there and let him question you? Couldn't you have gone in the house? And I was like, yeah, I guess that could have been an option, but how did I know the motherfucker wasn't going to shoot me if I went into my own house?
You're right. You didn't know.
It's some crazy shit. And by the way, man, if there's anybody in your audience that is a journalist, that is in the media, give them my contact information, because there's some shit going on, the dynamics of this whole thing I'm going through, that everybody needs to know that this shit happens. Everybody needs to know that with law enforcement, our politicians have a hands-off policy because they get union money to their campaigns, and you can't say anything bad about the police, which I think is fucked up. Even when they know the police is wrong, they can't even oh, nope, I won't touch that one.
Yeah. It's the police are insulated against repercussions of their own bad behavior. Yeah, and they get to investigate themselves. We did nothing. Yeah. We did nothing wrong. Our findings, we come to a final conclusion that you fucked up. We did nothing wrong. Right. Like, okay, officer, thanks for investigating. Your findings are fucking shocking. Shocking, right. All right. I think this is a good place to stop. Steve Hill, where can people find you online, sir? And Instagram, Steve Hill Comic. Steve Hill on Facebook. I think it's Black Satan 666 on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter that much because the president used to be on Twitter. But I do tweet. I do have some small following on Twitter. Satan 666. Black Satan 666. That's it. That's my Twitter handle. At Black Satan 666. Excellent. But I'm gonna fire that up. I'm getting tired of Facebook. I'm getting tired of all the bullshit on Facebook. So I think I'm gonna get my Twitter going. Sure. Jack, what are you up to, man?
I am still working with TST on the VHQ project, so we're gearing up for the big Lupercalia event next month. There's 5 nights. Tickets are available at tstvhq.com. Go check out what's going on because it's going to be a lot of fun. They've got a bunch of cool stuff going on there, and I'm just excited to help produce and organize it.
Hey, Jack, let me tell you this, man. Maybe next time I will work with you. I was supposed to do a thing for TST, and I emailed a person saying, hey, we need to go over. It was about a week or 2 weeks out. I said, hey, we need to go over this platform. I'm not familiar with it. And then it was like 2 days before I was supposed to do this thing in the house, the virtual house.
Yeah. Oh, that was me. So, but yeah, it was weird that we couldn't get it together. And I know that Twitch, we've got a better understand because that was the first time we were doing it. So
Yeah,
everything's
okay.
up in the air. But yeah, we got a better handle on how that works now. So if you want to do something, how we can talk later.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah. Well, I've talked to Doug, and I'm supposed to be going there when all of this is over with. I want to go do it live, a presentation and comedy in Boston. So I might just
Boston.
stay offline and just wait now that we've got a
yeah,
vaccine going.
like the virtual house is cool, but I don't know if it's very conductive to comedy because there isn't that same
the energy
interaction that you get.
Yeah,
Different.
I know. That's why I have not done one Zoom comedy show. Not one.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not there for me. I like to see the fat lady sitting over there laughing her ass off when I say, things like black people love shrimp. Shit like that. And that's a whole set of jokes. Go with that. But yeah, hey Jack, yeah, we'll do something. We'll get something together.
For sure.
All right. My name is Andy Hall. I'm going to be back here, believe it or not, at 9:00 in the morning to run the morning show. Steve Hill, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Always great talking with you. Thanks for sharing about everything and all the stories and how you were able to manage this whole discussion with Dave Silverman over on Right to Reason.
And just think, I couldn't do none of it without Satan in my life.
Fail. Everyone in the chat, thanks for showing up. Thanks for contributing. We'll talk about that tomorrow on the morning show, maybe, because I'm interested in that. But all right, that's another point. Take care, everyone. I got to get some sleep. That's what I got to do.
Good night.
Good night.